welcome to Wearing History. Today we're going to sew the collar into the 1899 Ponderosa Cape. This was from an original mode illustrate pattern from 1899, and we are going to attach the high standing collar in this video. You're going to need both the right side and the facing of the collar, and you're going to need some kind of hair canvas or collar canvas. I'm using collar canvas in mine. In the instructions I say hymo, which is hair canvas, but I went for collar canvas because it's really extra stiff and it'll help you get the stand-up collar very nice. So you're going to match the fabric side that you want to attach the hair canvas to, and then you're going to baste all around the outside edges. So we've got 6 pieces total that need the canvas attached, like this. And then once it is basted, I am matching right sides together, and I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance on all 3 of those pieces. Once that's done, I'm matching the remaining pieces together, and I'm going to also sew those with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to press all of my seams open. So just match that, stitch it, and press all your seams open. When it's done, it looks like this. So it's nice and backed in that hair canvas. Now take your facing pieces, which you assemble in a similar way, although no canvas on those. Match them right sides together and pin matching the seam lines. You may have a little bit to ease in, and that's okay and totally normal using 2 different fabrics. So just keep matching those seams with the seams open, right sides together, and then do your curves and do the same for the other side of the collar as well. Now you're going to stitch that using 1/2 inch seam allowance, and when it's done it should look like this. Now take your scissors and you're going to grade your seams, which means you're trimming one seam allowance down to 1/4 inch and the other one is at 1/2 inch, and this gives you less bulk in your final collar. After that, you're going to clip your curves like this, being careful not to get your seam lines in there. You want the seam lines to not be clipped. Then you're going to turn it right side out and use your fingers to press the curves into place. And then you're going to take it to your ironing board and you're going to press it, being careful to use a pressing cloth if you're using wool so you don't get any shine lines. After it's pressed, it looks like this. You're going to match the side with the collar canvas to the inside of your cape. Keep this in mind when you're doing your cutting. The cape should already be basted together at the neckline. Now you're going to have some to ease in here. That's just the nature of a big curve, like with the neckline of the cape itself. So go slowly, ease it in as you can, and remember you're only attaching the side with the collar canvas backing on it right now. When you get to the corner, it's extra fiddly, so make sure that you get it in there nicely and wiggle it around as you have to make sure that it matches well. You may need to unpin sections and repin them, and that's totally okay and quite normal, so don't worry if it takes a while to get it in there. Use enough pins so that you don't have to worry about sections going rogue and on their own. After this is pinned to place, you're going to sew that with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to press it up inside the collar. So you can see I'm going to stitch it right there. Now I'm going to press the seam allowance up, and I'm going to turn the seam allowance on the outside down, and that way I have more control over what the outside of my cape looks like. I'm going to use some pins here, and I'm going to smooth with my hand and pin on those seam lines to make sure I don't get any bubbles or weirdness going on with the collar. You may find 2 different wools or 2 different fabrics behave differently, so I definitely suggest either pinning or hand basting it up until maybe 2 or 3 inches from your neckline, and that will help you to have more control over your seam allowance. Now once that's done, I know how much I've got left to play with, and you want to pull down just enough of the seam allowance to cover your stitch line of the previous neckline stitch. So here I'm pushing it up and then I'm pulling down and gauging about how much I have. And it's okay if it's less than ½ inch or more than ½ inch. You just want to make sure that it lays nice and smoothly. And pull and push and play with the fabric and do what the fabric wants to do, because if the fabric is trying to do something, chances are when it's on the body, the fabric is going to continue to try to do that. And you need to give it enough ease so that it lays nicely on a body. The corner is always fussy, so play with that over and over again and clip it extra if you need to in order to get your corner point to lay nicely. Now after this, I'm afraid that I forgot to show the hand stitching part, so you're going to just stitch this invisibly by hand all the way around the collar, and when it's finished, it looks like that. I hope this has helped you to visualize how to put your collar into your cape. You can find my patterns on Wearing History on Etsy, also wearinghistory.clothing, and lots of fashion history tutorials on wearinghistoryblog.com. Thank you for watching.